We welcome to the Only Fools and Horses podcast, Dawn Funnell. How's it going?
It's going well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, very well. So you was in the Jolly Boys outing as one of the waitresses. What can you tell us about it?
Oh, well, I can tell you all sorts of things, really. It was a complete surprise because I was 21, not long out of drama school, and doing the usual things of writing lots of letters to lots of directors and casting people and, slogging away, working for theatre companies. And I got an audition at the BBC, and it was for the role of Cassandra, along with thousands and thousands of other, young actresses. They were just searching for Rodney's girlfriend. So I went up for this audition, and I auditioned, and they said, "Oh yes, you're from South London. That's ideal." Blah blah blah. And but they said, "What have you done? What TV work have you done?" And I said, "Well, sort of walking, extra work, bits and pieces. I hadn't really had very much experience of TV." So they sort of said, "Well, yes. And how tall are you, Dawn?" And I said, "I'm 5'4", just. And they said, "Oh, well, Nicholas Lyndhurst is 6 foot odd. It's going to look a bit funny if you in comparison." And I didn't really. I just thought, oh well, it's good experience being 21 and getting an audition at the BBC. What an excellent thing to do. And I said, well, okay, I understand I haven't had much experience and I may not be right for this role, but if you could please bear me in mind for anything in the future, I'd be very, it'd be brilliant. Obviously, you were pleased with my audition. If you could, keep me, even if it's a line or something. So I went away and I thought, oh, I won't hear from them again. And then 6 months later, I got a phone call and it said, will you come down to Margate? We're filming and we need someone to play the part. It's only a small role. We need someone to play the part of a waitress in the hotel. And I said, oh, absolutely. And I rushed down, I think it was less than a week later and just, went down there. And it was very exciting, very, very exciting to be, just out of drama school and then working with great stars like David Jason, Nicholas Lyndhurst and Rosalind Knight and all of those sort of people. I was a bit taken aback, really, a bit sort of nervous, but it was a very good experience, one I never forget. So yes, it would have been nice to be Cassandra, but realistically, I knew I didn't really, for the lack of experience I had, I didn't expect to get it, but I was just over the moon to get something. At that
Yeah, lots of
point.
people were considered for the role of Cassandra. Liz Hurley was as well, believe it or not.
Apparently so, yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they auditioned lots of actresses around that sort of age group, and they just wanted a particular look. I think, yeah, obviously they wanted someone with more experience than I. So yeah, that was it really. But it was wonderful to go down there, go down to Margate, and I remember they were rehearsing because I was in. It was raining, really awful weather, and we were all put in one of these sort of trailers, in between takes so that we could rest and everything. And obviously David Jason and Nicholas Lyndhurst, when they weren't filming, would rehearse like crazy, just go over and over and over scenes. And I remember sitting in the trailer with Nicholas Lyndhurst, David Jason, and Rosalind Knight, who was a fantastic actress. She was in the all the big comedies, Carry On, a couple of the Carry On films, and loads of things she did. She was in Friday Night Dinner and all of these sort of programs. And we were sitting there, and they just went in and they started rehearsing. I don't know if you know Jolly Boy's outing, the bit that he talks about him having a fish stall, and it was about the it was it was put off of they couldn't make a go of their fish and chip shop or their shellfish stall because apparently people were humanizing fish. Do you remember that bit where he says, "Oh,
Yeah.
because of the man from Atlantis, it ruined my stall, the fish stall, and everything." But they just went into this rehearsal, and Rosalind Knight said to me, she said, "Oh my gosh, and I didn't realise they were rehearsing. I thought they were just having a chat, because they were so naturalistic and so believable. We didn't even realise they were rehearsing at first." Yeah,
Wow.
so I was just blown away by it all, and I was just, watching and taking note of everything that was going on, really.
That's the Eels on Wheels, isn't it, Chris?
Yes, that's it. Yes, it.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, I couldn't remember the whole thing. But I remember watching them sort of go into that sketch and just thinking, wow, because it was seamless. You didn't know when it was real and when they were having conversation and when they were rehearsing, basically. Yeah.
You're right. He said it, like Michael Fish and Squiddly
That's
Diddly the
it.
octopus and
That's
things
good.
like that, didn't
Yeah,
they?
that's
Yeah,
it. Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. So when I actually saw it on the screen, when I watched the episode, I thought, oh, I remember them doing it. I remember them rehearsing that actual scene. So that was very exciting. Yeah, but they were
Was
ever
that
so
filmed?
nice.
So were they? Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Were the? It was filmed in a guest house, Helen. Was it? I presume a proper guest house. Then the scenes.
Yeah, they had a couple of scenes actually, and there was one scene that was cut. There were two actors that were. I'm glad my bit wasn't cut, but they had these two actors, and they were doing this other bit, and it was actually quite funny. They were in the horrible hotel, that the Bella died years ago. That one,
Yeah.
and they were in the horrible hotel, and they had this scene where there was this couple eating their food, and they were like really like covered in cobwebs, and really like miserable looking, and that was cut from the actual thing, which was a real big shame because it was quite a funny scene, I thought. But yeah, there was a load of us down there actually. Yeah.
I can imagine it was very surreal being there, obviously just starting out acting and then being on with David Jason, Nicholas, and obviously Rosalind as well. Can imagine
Yes.
it's very
Yeah,
surreal.
amazing. Because she came from a big theatrical family, and her husband obviously was a famous theatrical director as well. So it was like almost being in the same trailer as sort of royalty, theatrical royalty kind of thing. And I was barely out of drama school at the age of 21. So yeah. Oh,
Did you meet all the cast, Helen?
who did I meet? So I met obviously David Jason, Nicholas Lyndhurst. I met gosh, all the people that were in that guest house. I don't know if you've seen the scene that I'm in, but they go to the nice hotel first.
Mhm.
And then they go to the horrible hotel. So yes, I met quite a few, and obviously you rehearse at the BBC studios in London. Well, it was in obviously Shepherd's Bush, and so you go up there, and then they're obviously not just rehearsing your scene, but they're rehearsing other scenes as well. So you've got to see quite a few of them. Yeah.
Wasn't
I think it was.
Denzel in that scene?
Yes.
Denzel,
Yes.
Mickey Pierce,
Mickey
Devon.
Pierce. Yes.
Devon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and they were all very nice and all very welcoming. I said I was only had a bit part, but they were all very nice, sort of thing. Yeah.
And it's a great episode to be in, isn't it? If you could choose one Only Fools and Horses episode you could be in, it probably would be the Jolly Boys outing.
Yeah, and you never know when you do a job what's going to, what it is. You just turn up and you do it, and then it's amazing to think years later, people who weren't even born at the time know it. It's like funny enough, because I teach as well, and there were two students talking about it in the school, talking about Only Fools and Horses, and they're like 17, so they wouldn't have been born when when it was out, but they still know it. And most people know it, even if they're youngsters. It's that famous. So yeah, it was a great thing to be involved with, absolutely.
Do you still get recognised for the part, Helen? Dawn,
No.
sorry. Oh, Helen was your character. Sorry, Dawn.
No, I don't, because I don't really look. I mean, it was, gosh, how many years ago was that? 1989, I
It
filmed
was
that.
89, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was a very, very long time ago. My hair was a lot darker in those days. And you know, people change as they get older, don't they? So no one recognizes me. But yeah, when I say that I've been in it, they sort of, you know, are really impressed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a legendary show, isn't it? And it's one of them shows. Well, to be honest, there isn't a show like it really that after all these years, it gets repeated every Christmas, every special occasion, all the time, doesn't it? Only Fools and Horses.
It's on gold now.
Yeah.
Still.
Can't tell it.
Well, yes, it's on gold, but the BBC have only repeated it a couple of times, I think.
Yeah.
In all these
Yeah.
years, they've only shown it twice, and they only repeated some of the actual series. They started to do it on BBC Two, I think. They re-showed a few of them, and then they suddenly stopped, and they don't do it anymore. I don't know why that is. And I think the golden years of comedy were the 70s and 80s, and maybe the early 90s. And there's nothing to replace them, because you haven't got the kind of writing that they had, the slickness of the writing that was around. I mean, John Sullivan was such a talented, no longer with us, but such a talented writer, and there doesn't seem to be the kind of talent that, you know, there was in those days. I mean, all those old programs. I mean, some of them, obviously, times have changed, and the jokes wouldn't stand up to the test of time. Obviously, because they're not considered to be, you know, correct, I suppose, in this day and age. But you know, there were so many good comedies, Keeping Up Appearances, and some others do have them, and all of those programs. And but there's and Heidi High and Dad's Army, but we haven't got that kind of, or maybe people aren't been given the chance. I don't know what it is, but to come forward with that sort of level of comedy, because you know, John Sullivan wrote for the Two Ronnies as well. He wrote some of their famous sketches. You know, so it's that level of comedy that we've just lost, unfortunately.
Yeah, even some of those shows you mentioned. Recently, I've been watching comedy series that I wouldn't have necessarily watched back then. Things like The Vicar of Dibley, or comedy series like that, and I love it. You know, I think it's really funny. Compare it to a lot of modern day comedies. There isn't that many that are that good, you know, to be honest, if I'm being honest. But we're stuck in the past in this podcast, so.
Anyway, that's just my grumble that we don't have enough comedy on this. It seems to be there's a lot of. I mean, I know life is sometimes it can be dark, and we've got to have drama as well, and that's good. But I think there's so much very bleak drama on the box these days, and it would
Especially
be
the
nice
BBC.
to have a bit of fun. Exactly. It would be nice to have a bit of fun and a bit of light, and give some of these new upcoming writers that are coming out of college or wherever, or, you know, have been writing for you, give, you know, youngsters a chance to create something funny, and you know, give them you know, the opportunities to make some good comedy that we need. I think we need cheering up. That's the
We
thing.
do.
We need cheering up.
I think the last time the BBC showed Only Fools and Horses, was it A Touch of Glass, Chris?
Possibly, Chris. I think UK Gold have had it probably for 20 years. I bet it's not been shown for a good 15, 20 years on the BBC, I wouldn't have thought.
I think they showed A Touch of
sold the rights
Glass
to UK Gold.
For the anniversary of the show, like as a one-off kind of thing.
They?
But they don't show it very often, do they? No.
No.
Yeah. I think DVDs and videos came out as well, didn't they, afterwards?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've all got them.
Well, yes, it's quite nice because I still occasionally get a check through the, well, not a check these days, is it? I get a little payment comes in. I go, oh, that's a surprise. You never know. Yeah. So even after all this time, it's quite amazing to think you still sometimes get a little bit of payment from something you did many, many years ago, which was lovely, you know.
I went to my local shop the other day, and he was watching on the Fools and Horses while he was working. It's just like a little corner shop, like a self-independent one. And it's
Uh-huh.
like a little TV, and he was watching one, and I'm trying to think of which one it were. I know Marlene was in it, but I can't remember which one it were. And I was just sat there watching it like that while I was waiting to pay.
He's just you know, David Jason is just such a talented man, you know, and whatever he does is good in. But yeah, and to watch someone like that act and you know, because I like to watch people and learn, you know, that's how you learn, isn't it? By watching people that have been doing it for years, and yeah, it's quite amazing to see someone of that level perform. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything you want to ask me, because otherwise I just chat rubbish for ages.
I was going to ask as well, Dawn, whether, because you mentioned it was in Margate, was any of it filmed with a live audience, or it was all on location really and without an audience? Do you know?
Oh, the one I was in, yes, they did. They did film some of it in the audience, so that was quite nice. But they, not the scene that I was in, but some of the scenes they did in front of a live audience. So that was at the old BBC Television Centre. They filmed some of those.
Yeah, that was probably in like Rodney and Cassandra's flat, maybe, and obviously the Trotter flat, maybe. That would be the scenes, probably, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
And everything else.
and I think it was the scene where they're in the hotel and they sneak out the window. You know, they're in bed and
Oh yeah,
with Uncle Albert and oh, and Buster Merrifield. He was lovely. He was such a nice man, and he was very funny. And because I obviously I was new there and I was only playing a bit part and etc. When it came to lunchtime, I just sat down on, you know, by myself and just quietly ate my food and everything. And Buster came over and he said, "Oh, hello, dear." He said, "Do you mind if I come over and sit with you?" He said, "Because I think the others are busy, so I thought I'd come and sit with you." And I thought, what a nice fella to do that, because he could obviously see that I was on my own and he came over to sit with me. So yeah, I thought I'd mention that. I thought that was really sweet of him.
That was
Yeah.
nice of him.
Yeah.
he didn't start with during the. He didn't start with during the war, did he? Though, Dawn?
No, he didn't. No, he
No.
didn't. No.
That was the scene where he talked about his lighter freezing, didn't he? That was hilarious. That line. it was so cold. Yeah, it froze. Yeah. What's the full line of that, Chris?
Cold. You bits of kids don't know the name cold. One night it was so cold, the flame of my lighter froze or something, wasn't it? On the Russian
That's
convoy,
yeah.
wasn't it? So
Put you
Yes,
on the spot,
that's it.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Did you keep your script or anything like that?
I did for a very long time, and then it got to COVID, and someone said they offered me a bit of money for it, to be honest with you, so I haven't got it anymore. But
fair enough. Yeah.
I've got a good home.
not an awful lot of money, but you know, at that time it was a bit dicey, wasn't it? So
yeah, very. Yeah.
Very.
At least we've left those days behind, hopefully.
Yes,
Wood,
yes, that's it.
A lot of people, of course, did watch Only Fools and Horses during that time period. It kind of helped them through because it was bleak, wasn't it? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it was a bit. No one knew what was going on, did they? That was a bit, yeah. We needed something, as I say, you know, when we have these times of trouble and uncertainty, we really need cheering up, you know. So we need to get comedy out there, and a bit of comedy written by some even comedy was everywhere, I think, of the old days. Even Coronation Street, they had comedy in it. They seem to have lost. I mean, I'm not knocking Coronation Street because it's a very good program and there's some brilliant actors in it, but they used to have more comedic elements to it, and I think it's a shame they've lost that little bit. It really is. But there we go. We need cheering up nowadays. We really do.
I think now it's harder to make people laugh because there's so many people that can get offended so easily. It's hard to have the same sense of humour that we did back then.
Yeah. I can't remember that there was anything offensive in Only Fools and Horses, though.
No, there
I
wasn't.
really don't think. I mean, there might be one or two little bits that we think probably wouldn't say nowadays, but there was nothing offensive in it. And I don't think there was anything offensive in some others do have them, or
Dad's Army, or
Dad's Army. No, and that was back in the day, and that they didn't need to. I suppose Dad's Army, you did have the element of Jonesy, didn't you? He used to say some dodgy things that probably wouldn't say nowadays, but you could easily change that slightly and make it acceptable, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, that wasn't the crux of the comedy, actually. That was just something that he sort of said because it was of that time, but you needn't say that, really, not nowadays.
I know we're
But yeah,
doing this on the internet now, but it's probably also because back then there wasn't the internet and people couldn't instantly say something about something if they saw it, or, you know, that as well, which makes it difficult. But
I just think it was a very different time. It wasn't like today, and I think people have changed so much and society has changed so much, and I think a lot of it is for the better, to be honest with you. But and it's good to be accepting of people. I really do think that, but I just think that we need to get a bit of lightheartedness into society as well. I don't think we need to resort into being offensive to make people laugh either. And I think anything that was slightly disagreeable, or we wouldn't say nowadays, you could just make it agreeable.
yeah,
And, you know, it wouldn't be too much of a job to do that, would it, really?
no.
Yeah.
Have you worked with any of the cast since, Dawn, since the episode, or met?
I haven't, but I have had a chat with someone, and I'm looking to do the Comic Con next year. In it's taking place in Sussex, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm going along. I've never done anything like that before. So yeah, someone contacted me and said, "Would you go along? Would you be part of the Comic Con?" And I said, "Oh yes, it sounds interesting. I think there's going to be quite a few actors there. I think some people are yet to be confirmed, but there's quite a few that are going to go along to that. So I'll probably meet up with some people there.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that
so.
looks great. Actually, there's loads of characters. Derek Martin was the angry man in Fatal Extraction. Jay Kilby, who we're having on the podcast soon. Sonia from Dates, you know, the prostitute. Michael Fenton Stevens is in it. Alan, the Shadow, he's in it. Then what's his name? Oh, Mental Mickey. Sorry, he's in it himself.
Daniel Peacock.
Daniel Peacock, and Stan Trotter, isn't it, from the funeral episode?
Yeah.
Strained Relations.
He's done well, Stan. He's got into it late, but I've seen he's popping up now, isn't he, in all these events? He was our first podcast interview, wasn't he?
Oh.
Those years ago.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
3 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah. So where does the podcast go out to? Is it on the internet and then people can just listen to it, or what happens to it?
Yeah, it's on everything. So it's on YouTube. We've got a Facebook page. It's on iTunes, Spotify, everything.
Everywhere.
Oh right, okay.
So you'll be able to find it everywhere.
Oh right, okay. Right. Oh, well, that's really good. Yeah.
We'll probably send you the link as well, though, Dawn, as well,
Oh,
if you'd
right.
like a link.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Because one thing I will tell you, a little bit of information that you may or may not find interesting, but my dad actually met John Sullivan, and I met him before I went along and got the part. Um, and he had a conversation with my dad, and they were talking about the old days when they were younger. And they were talking about going to the corner shop and having sweets and things like this. And he said, "Oh, the best thing though that I used to enjoy," and they got on very well because they're the same sort of age. And he said the best thing I used to enjoy was the lovely jubblies. Do you remember those? And John said, "Yes, I do remember those. They were great." And I remember the tune that went along. It said "Lovely Jubbly." And then we turned on the TV set, and there it was, Lovely Jubbly. So that's the story of how Lovely Jubbly came along. So I don't know whether
Wow.
you knew that.
I didn't.
Yeah, so it was originally it was like a lolly, like an ice pop that you would have, and it was very famous in the 19, I think, 50s. And yeah, so he got into conversation with my dad about that, and that's how it became Lovely Jubbly.
It's interesting you say that because my dad calls I don't know what they're called, what they're really called. I don't know if they are called that, but those sort of
Jubblies.
triangle lollipops that you put in the freezer, he
Yeah.
calls them a jubbly. So
Yeah, that's it.
yeah, that's
what
what it
they
is.
were called. They were called Jubblies, yeah.
Lovely jubbly.
And it really worked,
so
didn't it?
really, your dad might have had a little bit of a influence on that.
Yeah, well, he was very
Mm.
good, you see. He was very good at picking up what people said, like all good writers are. You sort of listen to people, and all artists, really. If you're an actor, you watch people. If you're a writer, you listen and you take on board what they say and you use it, when you're writing something. And John Sullivan had a conversation with me. He says, "Oh, how's the acting going? It's great to see that you've got a part here and blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Oh, yes, it is. It's going very well." I said, "But before I got this, I said I had a funny audition. I auditioned for the part of a magician's assistant." And I said, "It was the most bizarre audition I ever went to." And I was telling him about this audition. And of course, that was, he used that in the episode, didn't he, to show Raquel. So yeah. So that's what he used to do. He used to sort of take on board what people said and include it in his writing.
Yeah, you said
I
before,
know.
Chris, didn't you, about A Touch of Glass, how that was based on a real story, and then he's obviously expanded on that, and yeah, I think he did that a lot, John Sullivan, and that's the great mark of a writer, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's to make it real, isn't it? If it's real, then it's because he's used real life things. Yeah.
I think it was John Sullivan's father was involved with the chandelier one, and his dad told him the story. And I think Sir David Jason heard the story, and Sir David Jason said, "You've got to write this, John." He said, "I don't want to tell you a story. It's not that funny." And his dad was a bit skeptical, John's dad. And then he said, every time he had an episode, his dad would be the first one to ring, and his dad rung up and said, "Yeah, it was funny," sort of thing. Because his dad was a bit like, loads of people got the sack for that, and all this. But he said, no, it was funny in the end.
Yeah. Well, I think it was one of the most classic episodes, and it was the funniest thing, really. Everyone remembers that. But you could kind of see the joke happening, but that's sometimes what makes it funnier. It was almost Laurel and Hardy-ish, that episode, I thought, where you think, "Oh no, is that something's going to go, they're going to break the chandelier," but it was like how it happened was a surprise, wasn't it? But you kind of were on tenterhooks waiting for it to happen almost, which made it funnier.
Yeah.
That's right. They'd only got one take to do it, I think. It cost about £6,000 in 1982, so it was a fortune, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I think was it Ray? Did you ever come across Ray Butt, or had he left by then, Dawn?
Remind me, which part did he play?
Yeah, sorry, Ray Butt was one of the director. He was quite a small guy with glasses. He used to wear a flat cap quite a bit on set, I think. He's one of the
No.
directors. No, he didn't. He might have left by then, but he'd said to both Nick and to David, if you laugh on this tape, he was joking, but he said, if you laugh, you're going to be sacked. And if we lose this episode, we lose the series. So it was quite serious at the time, yeah.
No, it was Tony Dow that was the director when I was there.
Yeah,
I don't know if there was a new. It might have been a new director. I'm not sure. He hadn't been directing it that long. Maybe I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if that was true, but it was Tony Dow when I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Tony did take over round about late 80s. Yeah. So yeah. So where would you? Because you've done a lot of acting, haven't you? And you're a writer as well. Is that right?
Oh right? Yes, you've looked me up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love writing and I love acting, and I always do it. It's kind of part of what makes me happy, you know. Emma Hibbs, who I met in Lapland, who was an elf. So we were both working there as part of the Christmas experience. So you're an actor, you know. And so she very kindly did all the illustrations for me. She's the writer too. And she helped me put the books onto Amazon. And then once I had completed the first book, I went ahead and wrote a second one. So Tamira Burton's and the Pharaoh's Treasure is the first one, and the second book is Tamira Burton's and the Magic Lantern, and they're about a little girl that travels back in time. So
nice.
And she meets all these different characters, and it's a bit quirky, a bit hopefully comedic. There's a bit of comedy in there as well. So
have you always done writing, or is this a fairly new thing? Or
no, I've always done a bit of writing. So I used to teach. Well, I still do teaching, but I worked for a long time as a teacher down in Sutton in Surrey, and I used to write little quirky pantomimes every year for the students to perform in. And one of them, actually, one of the boys, Jamie, he won't mind me saying, Jamie was one of the biggest fans of Only Fools and Horses there is, I think. And so I made him Del Boy this year in the that year for the pantomime. And he really looked the part. His mum got him the coat and he looked amazing. I'm sure he's still got photographs somewhere. So yeah, I did a lot of that kind of thing. So writing little dramas for students and bits and pieces. But they're my first two books. Brilliant. I'd like to carry on writing and do some. I've got a murder mystery. It's in my head at the moment, but I hope to get that down on paper at some point as well.
I started writing a book last year.
Oh, right, yeah.
I've not done much of it because it's been such a hectic year, but I think I wrote like 5 chapters, I think.
Yeah.
It's somewhere on my laptop. That was quite good. I've always wanted to write a book.
Yes. Well, keep going with it because, you know, are you going to try and get a publisher, or are you just going to do it yourself via Amazon? How do you think you'd like to proceed?
I'm not sure. Probably Amazon, because I've heard some good things about Amazon. I'm telling them. I thought of a kid's book as well, based on events with me, because I've got a teddy bear that I've had since I was like 1. So I was going to do like something with that. I'm not sure yet.
Yes. I mean, keep going and just do it, get it out there. I found the writing of the book, I mean, it's very exciting. I enjoyed the writing of the book, but that for me, the artistic process of doing that sort of came quite naturally and was quite the easy part for me. It's the selling part that is the tricky part, really. It's getting, yeah, that's it. And you have to sort of do the thing of going out and, you know, selling it and put it on the internet, and then going out into, I've gone to some indie bookshops and said, would you put this in your shop? And some of them have, and they have sold them. So, but it's not, you know, they don't fly off the shelves. You have to work at it a bit. Yeah.
We should do an Only Fools and Horses book, really, shouldn't we? All the people we've interviewed.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be excellent. Yeah, I'm sure that would sell very easily. You're probably Well, you could do it in indie style and do it on Amazon if you wanted to, but I'm sure you could get probably a publisher for something like that.
Maybe one day, but Chris, it might be copyrighted, mightn't it? You know, like in that one episode.
Might be copyrighted. I was just thinking there when you said it, Chris, like Lauren Hardy or Mr. Bean, a cartoon would be good as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they thought of that idea.
Yes.
I saw, because Mr. Bean, they did actually do a cartoon of Mr. Bean, didn't they? I've got a channel on my TV and it just plays that all day. I haven't been watching it all day, but it's quite funny. It's one of those channels that I've got. I've got this TV and it's got their own channels on there, and they've got a fireplace channel. You must be bored to watch that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've done. So I've written 2 books as well, and I'm always doing bits and pieces of acting. Nothing as big as Only Fools and Horses yet, but I'm always doing bits and pieces. Always done some commercials and everything, and low budget films and lots of bits and pieces. But yeah, just keeping myself busy, and I think that's important in life. Just keeping yourself busy.
It is.
Are you doing an Only Fools and Horses event soon, or?
Well, I'm doing the one in Sussex. That's on the, I want to say the 28th of June. Down, yeah. So I think it's Uckfield.
Do you know you mentioned cats before, Dawn?
The what? Sorry, you cut off a bit there. I didn't quite catch what you said.
Say it again, Chris.
I think he's having connection problems.
Yeah, there's a bit of a problem there, I think. Something you said, you've mentioned something.
Sorry, I
before.
said what happened to the white cat off Only Fools and Horses?
The white cat.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yes, it was gorgeous cat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. They usually, for commercials and all of those things, because I've had to work with dogs as well over the years, they have a trainer. They have a special agency for cats and dogs, would you believe?
Wow.
So they have, they come along with their sort of trainer, owner, agent, whatever, and they are trained to do a certain thing. And sometimes I think that cat was coaxed off because it ran off it was sitting on something and then it ran off, didn't it, at some point? And that was, I think they usually do that with food to tempt the cats off. Yeah, so they sort of coax them to do things sometimes with treats and stuff. But they aren't ordinary cats, they're special cats or special dogs or whatever, yeah.
It was like a Bond cat, wasn't it, if I remember correctly?
Yes, it was beautiful cat, yeah. Yeah, I think they got it especially a white one as well, because there's a line in it that says it looks like your beard, doesn't it, to Uncle Albert. Yeah, so...
I think it's attracted to your beard or something. I think
that's it, yeah. That is a funny line.
Yeah.
Before we go, does anybody want to ask any more questions?
Yeah.
I think they've all been answered, really.
Yes. Yeah, I was just sort of
Chris,
cut off
was
in
there anything
between,
else?
sort of... Yes.
I was just going to ask, were you a big fan of the show before you got the part then, Dawn?
Yes, I thought it was brilliant, and I thought, the writing was absolutely fantastic. And I didn't think I would, I went for the audition. I didn't think for a moment I would get a part, but I was lucky enough that I did. So, yeah.
Great. Well, it's been lovely to speak to you, Dawn. Thanks for coming on the Only Fools and Horses podcast.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye now.